So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at that data that you just collected when you were walking around. And you know, it always amazes me when we go out to schools and sometimes at the beginning of a lesson, even if it's a social studies lesson or a language arts lesson, I'll always have the students do some sort of weather data collecting. And then at the end of the day, when we bring the teachers back in and we talk to them, and they're always, some of the things they say are like, wow, I never would have thought about having the students, you know, do weather outside. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure where you would do it, you know, and it doesn't have to be a long time. You know, the district gives you like 3 days to teach weather. You know, really weather needs to be done all year. And it can't, we don't have the time to do it, so you want to do it just a little bit at a time. Sometimes I would do it on the way out to recess or on the way in. So you stop, and you're not going to have them go through all 6 stations all the time. You're just, one day we're going to focus on wind, one day we're going to focus on air temperature or soil temperature, whatever the case may be. And don't always take them out on a beautiful sunny day. You know, I don't want them to always see a beautiful sunny day. I always tell teachers, if you want students to retain information, take them out on the coldest day of the year, because then you'll refer back to it. You know, they're standing out there and you're teaching like this really hard math lesson, and then they come back later and you're like, do you remember that day that we taught this? They're like, oh, that really cold day? Oh yeah, I know exactly what you said. And so that's a great way to get them engaged. All right, so you've got your weather data. How do you share it? How do you get it out? So I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you can do that. And the first thing that I want you to do is I just want you to, just call out, let's do air temperature. I want you to call out, well, let's just do Fahrenheit. And even if you got different ones, that's okay. That's what I want you to do. Even if you got the same ones, I want you to just call them out, and I'm just going to scribe them. I'm just going to write them down. So let's just do air temperature Fahrenheit.
52. 52. I had 47 before we came out. 52. 52.
Did anybody get a different one other than 52? Because y'all were a group and you did it together. Okay, so I'm going to write a couple more. There we go. Because in a classroom, you're going to have a lot of different numbers. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got all these numbers. Put your math brain on for just a second. Math teacher brain. What do you see? What can you do with that? A range. Average. Mean, median, mode. So the lesson that I'm teaching in math is maybe average or range or median mode, collecting data. But now I'm integrating some science into it, and we went outside and the numbers actually have meaning to them. You know, and so they went outside and they collected the weather data, and so we talked a little bit about weather. We talked about why does this thermometer say something different because it was in the sun. You know, we spent 5 seconds to it, but now they've got ownership of these numbers, and so you can do something as simple as making a graph. You can do something as simple as, now we're going to lead you into our median mode and range lesson that we're going to do, or estimation, or whatever the case may be. Okay, all right, so what about language arts? Did y'all get any words written down? You got some wind direction?
Wind direction, yeah.
Let's talk about taking your students out real quick. If you're a writing teacher, you're doing a writing lesson, and before you start your writing lesson, I just kind of want to hit on weather real quick. If I asked you 3 words, think just really quick, to describe today. What's something you would use to describe the weather outside?
Brisk.
Brisk.
Sunny.
Sunny. Chilly. Clear. Cold. There you go, adjectives. So you see where you're going with this. I love it when my language arts, you know, they're not going to do numbers, they're going to do words. And what they're going to do is they're going to take their students out, and then they're just going to build this bank, because we want them to have words. So again, I'm integrating my science, I'm integrating some weather, I'm taking them out when it's hot, when it's cold, when it's windy, when it's rainy, and we just stop for 5 seconds. We do some quick weather, we have them put it in their journal and they record it. They record the date, they record the time they were out there, and then they record their weather. They're either going to do it with numbers or they're going to do it with words. My language arts teachers now have a great word bank that they can transfer into their room, put up. They can use it in their writing. My math teachers, they're constantly looking at the different numbers, whether it's compost temperature or something else, and now they've got ownership of it. So, any questions on weather or weather data collecting? How about wind? Did y'all get the wind direction? Northeast. So I have a question for you just real quick. It's the last thing, and then we'll start science. So is it where the weather is blowing to or where it's coming from? What's important to us? Where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
It's abnormal.
Because that's the starting
temperature.
point.
The starting point determines like
Starting
northern
point.
winds are going to be colder like than
Okay.
south winds.
Why is weather really, as far as a standardized test, why is it important to us?
Has to do with everything.
Has to do with everything. Okay. Think about the
Your environment,
Adapting.
your-
adapting.
Adjusting.
How about on the test when they give that picture, here's the United States, and they ask the question, what is the weather going to be in Amarillo on Tuesday? And they've got what's happening over in California, they've got what's happening up here, because it's where it's coming from, right? That's what brings our weather. And the students have to know that's predicting, right? And so they have to do that forecasting, and they have to be able to look at that map. So if they come out on an everyday basis and they talk to it and you teach them, you know, it's where it's coming from, and you know, or you say, hey, you know, it was storming, you know, in Oklahoma and it's coming this way. They have to know those arrows. And she talked to you all about journaling and the importance of drawing and labeling and diagramming.